Hi, it's Anthony McAvaney here from Get Online Lab. I wanted to shoot this really short video, and as you can see from the title here, how to go about getting consistent leads and predictable sales. And this is specifically for coaches. Obviously, for anybody operating their own business, getting consistent leads and sales is about the heartbeat of your business. If you're not getting leads, and if those leads aren't turning into sales, you're really struggling, and confidence and all of those sorts of things really sort of starts to take a battering, and you begin to wonder, is this actually worthwhile? So if this is you, if you're tired of inconsistent leads and sales for your coaching, if you've tried lots of tactics, and I have over the years, but are still stuck, you're not getting results, and if you're ready for a simple and a sustainable solution, then I've got some ideas that I'd like to be able to share with you. Let's take a look at some of the more common approaches which are recommended by gurus, and hand on heart, I've done virtually everything that you've seen on this list. And going back to that previous slide that I showed you, I was still stuck. I was very busy. I was constantly creating content, trying this, trying that, and still not getting the results. As you can see from the list, there's an extensive range of things that the gurus say you need to be doing, which means you end up being super busy and constantly in content creation modes. Do we actually, in fact, today need a website? I'm not convinced that you do anymore. Do you need set up and promote a private Facebook group? I don't think for coaches that Facebook is where our audience will hang out. You may have a different view on that. Certainly LinkedIn, but if you're using LinkedIn and you're also using Facebook, do you actually have a strategy for using those platforms? And if you do, I'm guilty of this, or was, irregular and inconsistent posting on any of the social media that you're involved with. Going to the trouble of developing lead magnets and automated nurture and follow-up email campaigns. I've tried all that. Running mini course challenges, done that. Running information and teaching webinars, the add value approach. Now, I still use that, by the way. And basically, as entrepreneurs, we're always on the lookout for the next shiny object, which is going to provide the magic answer. But the results that I got out of all those things was actually very limited success. And I'm wondering if that's been your experience too. And if that's the case, maybe it's time for you to think, well, there's got to be a better way, and there's got to be an easier way. But let's have a look briefly, like why most coaches fail. What are the things that they actually try? So we've looked at that list. My belief and my experience is the reason that this whole thing fails is that there's no real system with any of that. And basically what that means is that you've got a random approach to your marketing. It's scattergun, if you like. And that, of course, if it's random, if it's scattergun, and if it's the idea of the month that you're going to try, the results you're going to get are also random. And I think the consistency is another key factor here. If you are not consistent in the action you're taking to generate leads and sales, that is also self-evidently going to result in inconsistent income. So what's the answer? What has turned my business around, and what do I recommend that you can try to help turn your business around too? I think there are three foundations for a thriving coaching business. And basically it is this, that you have a single core offer, which involves a particular problem, which solves rather a particular problem with a particular solution for a specific type of client, and you have a specific price point for that. That core offer then is backed up with a simple organic system that you can use to generate leads to attract people to that offer. And then as people express interest, that you actually have a conversion process that's designed to turn interest into hard sales. Let me just take a couple of minutes to dive into each of those three areas in just a little bit more detail. So step one basically is, do you have an aligned core offer? So this is really about solving a specific problem for a specific client, so I've just outlined. I think it's critical that we make our offers outcome-driven and clear. And what do I mean by outcome? Well, basically, there are two ways we typically can go. We can provide more information, or we can make it implementation focused. You've only got to spend a few minutes online on virtually any platform to look at all the pitching and all the information that's available. We live in the information age. People who want your service as a coach are not looking for more information. What they're looking for is how to implement those ideas, and they want guidance and they want action steps to do that. And I think the other important benefit of having an aligned core offer around a specific problem for with a specific solution, it is so much easier to position your offer as the obvious solution, because you're confining this to one single core problem with a key core solution. Anyway, moving on, step 2, having a simple organic system for strategic promotion. And there are 4 parts to this: using LinkedIn for visibility and to build your authority. I believe that LinkedIn is much better known and respected for business-related content and also for networking, as opposed to any other social media site. LinkedIn, in my view, is a business networking platform, and it is fantastic for being visible through your efforts at posting and other activities, and through the content that you post to actually build your authority. The second part of that, and I think this is to do with visibility and authority, is that you've got to show up consistently, and the messaging that you're putting out in your post needs to be relevant. So if you've got a core offer focused on a single problem, it makes it so much easier to be consistent and to make your messaging relevant. Thirdly, have an outreach strategy. And this is all about basically being proactive in your marketing rather than reactive. For a long, long time, my business relied on word of mouth referrals. And if you're in that position too, you're going to know that that fluctuates wildly, and you're going to have long periods of time where you're not getting referrals, despite beating the bushes and tapping all your contacts asking for referrals. You must have a proactive outreach strategy, and LinkedIn provides that platform to enable that to do that. And then the fourth thing is to make your value easy to understand. And again, this goes back to having a core aligned offer targeted at a specific audience. When that's the case, you can definitely make your value easy to understand, because you're focused on a particular audience and, again, around a particular problem. The third thing is a lead to sales conversion process. And it's really important that we have a process to actually qualify leads before jumping into sales. A big mistake I made early on was that I was too quick to try and sell. I didn't take enough time to actually have a conversation with people where I validated the fact that they had a need and that I was in a position to be able to help them with the need or problem that they were presenting. When that's there, you can then start to move into sales. So qualification, I think, is a critical step, and I think really the whole purpose of our promotional activity and our posting is to find a way to engage people in an initial conversation to find out if or how you can actually help people. The second thing is to have a structured process for qualified leads. And what I've learnt to do, what I've been taught to do, is to prepare and follow a non-salesy script to use in those conversations, which you feel comfortable in using, and which obviously will increase the chance of you making that lead and turning that into a sale. And then I think the third thing is only sell to people with a clear need and readiness. And what I'm talking about here is doing the pub test. So the qualification process is having a solution to the problem that the client has a priority for them to solve. Is it top of their priority? What would they rate that out of 10? What's the urgency in them actually getting the problem fixed? And then thirdly, as a part of that qualification process, do they actually have a budget? So that before you actually get into what your offer is and how the client's going to benefit, you actually are on firm ground that, yes, the need exists, it is urgent, it's real, and the client is actually ready to take some action. And when you use that approach, you're much, much more likely to actually generate a sale. So what we've been looking at, really, what I believe to be the 3 foundations of a coaching business are: you must have a core offer focused on a specific problem which has a specific solution for a specific type of client. And then you have a simple organic system to generate leads, emphasis on organic so that you're not having to fork out money for expensive leads. And consistency is the key to this system. And then thirdly, a conversion process to turn interest into sales. I think if you have those three things in place, your business is being built on very solid foundations. Now, if any of this appeals, and if you'd like to explore these concepts further, let's have a chat. I have a link there alongside this post, which you'll see. Make a booking. Let's jump on a call and see if or how I might be able to help you in some way. Anyway, that's all I wanted to chat to you about today. I hope this has added some value and given you some things to think about as to why or why not your current lead generation and sales system might be working. So, Anthony McAvaney from Get Online Lab saying bye for now.